overlap. And also because the systems that are used for reporting are not really interoperable. So this creates a huge burden. And the second big challenge is that these requirements being created in mostly in silos, if you can move to the next slide, makes that policy officers that have to deal with them do not have this overarching view of who has to comply to what at which moment in time, and what has to be reported to whom. So this is because the tools that are in hands of the policy officers are not sufficient to address this numerous number of reporting requirements, and so that they are not helped at all to create efficient reporting obligations. For that's why now I'm coming to the point that we thought that a key enabler would be a machine-readable standardized vocabulary. And that is why we have asked Professor Palmirani of University of Bologna to help us in drafting such a vocabulary. And today, what we would like from you is that you take you get to know what this draft, that you come with all your questions, all if you are policy officers, whether you think it would whether it fits with your daily work, and for semantic experts or people that are knowledgeable in the vocabularies in which that are used to build this one, whether you see it fitting as well. And the expected benefits of this work will be that it will really provide a underlying solution for all applications that deal with regulatory reporting, and to set reporting obligations and potentially later even to support their implementation. So this said, I think that Monica, you can share your slides.
Okay, thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you for coming in this webinar. As explained before by Cecile, I try to present the first outcome of our work. It is a staff work, but in the meantime, we wanted to anticipate a part of this. The main goal is to detect inside of European legislation the so-called obligation, but obligation is not probably a correct term, because in legal domain obligation is a deontic prescriptive command, and so the new terminology that I'm using in this work is a request. And some of these requests are periodically presented and produce a report, periodic report, frequent reports, or other kind of documentation like standard, comments, plan. So the main idea is to extract from the European legislation these requests, but moreover to monitor them over time, because we want to avoid overlapping, we want to avoid to miss some reporting, or to monitor in general the consistencies about the report request with the European strategy and policies. The European legislation, like every legislation, change over time. So there is also a great topic how to maintain updated over the time these requests according to the modifications. So what we mean with obligation request, in this case we change the terminology in request. This is an example. So inside of a fragment of the article, we can see that there is the command, the request from one agent to another agent to report to another agent or many other agents concerning one topic, updating the situation of the regulation, the standard of the compliance with other rules, of the status of the member state implementation, and several kind of reports. And these requests, like in this case, is due every 5 years, starting from one specific point in time. So what is the goal is to automatically extract this information according to a semantic, and to create the events evolving over time that is a consequence of this fragment of the text. So these fragment of the text produce actions, and these actions are listed in the bottom, so we can extract and put in the agenda this kind of new action. We have already some material. We not start from the scratch, and the many database also now inside of different DG are tracking this so valuable part of the legislation. And we started with this database called ROD, and obviously we started from the European database of the legislation of the publication office, and we transformed, thanks to them and the cooperation with the publication office, in a Comantoso. A Comantoso is an international standard for legal document in general, specifically for legislation, and we reuse as much as possible all the impressive part of the metadata that are available nowadays, thanks to the initiative called ALI, European Legislation Identifier, that can produce also some metadata very important for qualifying the legislation. So we start with this material, and the main idea is to use artificial intelligence for extracting these based on ontology. That is a topic of today. So the ontology is the grid for teaching to the machine the knowledge and the anatomy of the request and the component of the request. When we have classified, we can later on also to check these requests with the policies of European strategy or with the international strategy, like the Sustainable Development Goals policies of coming from United Nations. So when we have marked up in this way the request, we can also not limit it to monitor and to track over the time these requests for a good management of the legislation, but also to check if these trend of actions are compliant with the policy, European policy or international policy. For approaching to this goal, we need many competencies, not only artificial intelligence, but we use so-called hybrid AI. So we use the structure of the document and legal XML modeling. We use metadata coming from the semantic annotation of the Gazette, official Gazette. We use data analytics for understanding the frequency of some phenomena, and also, obviously, artificial intelligence, symbolic based on rules, but also non-symbolic based on statistic and probabilistic algorithm for detecting the portion of the text involved in this request. And the first step was to transform everything in a Comantoso, for detecting also the modification over time, because as I said before, we have some requests, but as I can present later, these requests change over time. So we need to have a sort of a chain of the versioning of the legislation over the time, but also for maintaining a network of relationship of references, a citation or a modification, but not only modification, normative reference link between the different legislation. Because sometimes also the request includes a link to other fragment of documents, and we need to understand how to manage these external information and to join these information for help people to understand the request. So the main architecture is this one. So we start with the material of the Gazette of European Publication Office, and also from databases. We use Accomantoso. On the base of these, we are training the artificial intelligence, and based on the existing database annotated by human legal expert, we can understand if the training of the artificial intelligence is good or not. So we can use the human previous experience for understanding if the machine can produce a good result or not. And then after the training, we can take a new legislation, and the system can classify, extract, and then classify on the basis of the ontology the portion of the text, recognizing the main elements present in the ontology. What is an obligation? What is a request? So as I said before, this is a fragment of text. So first of all, we need to identify correctly the source of the request. Where is the name of the request? So fortunately, we have the unique identifier of ALI, but we need the portion of the text, exactly the portion. In this case, the general ALI is not enough. We need to enter in deep in the structure of the document. So we need to point out exactly to the article 54 and paragraph 2 and each element inside. So first of all, we have identified the fragment of the document with the identifier of Accomantoso, starting from LI, and we enter in deep to isolate the topic in orange, and the output of the request in yellow, the report. The actors involved in this request, European Parliament and Council, and the temporal elements involved in this request in Azure. So these components recognized by the artificial intelligence algorithm can produce valuable information that put together using the ontology can produce a list of action for the future, and to annotate these action to put in the agenda for the human expert that can take a look of these action. I provide you another example. This example involves also modification. So just to explain that it's not an easy task to maintain updated this request, because in this case we have a directive of 2013, and in the article 161 we have 9 paragraphs, but during the multiple modifications, new paragraph is added. You can see the paragraph 10. The paragraph 10 is inserted in 2019. So these insertion produce a new request, and in this case there is a deadline, the December of this year. There is a actor, the Commission, that can produce something, the report, to another agents, European Parliament and Council, talking about a topic. But
and then we utilize from cyberspace. Yeah, and that is related to the NEC vision on the digital twin, the overlay digital twin, and how human digital twins and digital twin can work together.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
I can go ahead. So in this case, you can see that the topic point out to other articles. So in this case, the request includes a citation of the same law, and we need to take a track of this relationship, because if the human want to see this fragment, need also to navigate the points of JL of the article 100 for paragraph 1. So these create a network between the requests. So if in the other article there is another request, I can in this way to connect each other, and so I have also a great network of concerning the request, so I can connect each other these. So first of all, I needed to manage the versioning and also the network between the version 1 and the version 2, but also the network and the connection between points and articles inside of the request. This is another example, more complicated. We have many versions. In this case, we have these paragraph 13, and in the paragraph 13 there are other mentioned something. So ESMA is an actor, should develop a draft regulatory technical standard about some topic, liquidity in principle, and this paragraph stop with this. But in the second portion of the sentence, so we have two sentences in the same paragraph 13, but in the other sentence I have some more information concerning the deadline, and this second paragraph sentence of the same paragraph can change over time. So I risk, if I don't create a connection between these requests with this second portion, I risk, in case of modification over time of these, to not have a correct information when I need to decide when the action should be repeated or should be delivered. And this is very important because in ALI I have this general URI that is the original first legal act, but I need to point out during the detection to the correct version over time. So the legal act is not enough. We needed to take in consideration all the version of the time and to point out exactly to the correct URI. So the current problems is that the request clauses are not standard in the legal drafting, so doesn't exist a regularity too much, and it's very difficult to create patterns, but we are trying, and also to create also suggestion for the future. The second point is that the legal knowledge is now extracted manually mostly, and the connection between the complex situation of the versions or the link are not managed. And the modification, as I said before, in some portion, provision, sentence can affect the request or other requests, and this is very difficult to track. So this is what we wanted to cope with this ontology. And we use an ontology for modeling how the request is composed. The ontology is used also by the AI part for extracting the knowledge and compose a sentence in RDF. And we use a command also for navigating the correct portion of original text with the meaning of the correct version, using also the metadata already available in the ALI. So entering deep of the semantic annotation, we have topics, first of all. We have agent that should produce or receive something, the result of the action, report, and we have also temporal information for producing different actions. So each slot in time is an action and is connected with the temporal information and also with the status. A status of one action could be suspended. During the COVID, many of these were suspended. And this is another element very important, because the suspension is usually an act that suspends some article, but if inside of the article there are requests, also the requests are affected by the suspension. So we have also the status of the action: active, suspended, repealed, completed, and so. And these are the main pillar of our ontology. So the competencies question for producing the ontology are the following. To answer to this question, when is expected the next action with a particular kind of result, like a report or a standard, and related with some topic, called concept, called financial instruments, and what action has a status suspended related to some concept? Who is the addressee of this action, and when, with the frequency of 2 years in the next period of 5 years? So these queries are very sophisticated, but are the competencies questions that we intend to answer using sparkle and point at the end for querying and to answer to this query. And so to help the people to discover, to track, to manage this kind of request over time, not only to have a sort of agenda, but also to have a connection of the knowledge between these requests over the time. We reuse, obviously, ontology already exists. ALI, first of all, Accomantoso, FRBR, and others already used by the European Commission, especially in the interoperable sector. And this is another easy example. It's not so easy because it is a new paragraph inserted in a new version. So this is not the original text, but is the consolidated text in 2019. We have a temporal parameter. We have the action result expected, a report. We have a topic. But inside of a topic, we have also an article. So we need to take in consideration of this link for completing the information to the human being expert. The agents that are different, agents that should do something, commission, and some agents that should receive the output. And this is the first element of our ontology. We obviously use ALI. ALI is based on FRBR, so work is a general concept of a law. Expression is a sort of version in language or in time, and the manifestation is the format, digital format, or not also digital, but digital format of the law. And the URI that we use, obviously, for the expression is ALI, but you can notice that there isn't the portion of the article, and we need in this scenario to point out exactly the sentence and the portion of that. So we use ALI, but also Accomantoso for entering deep of the structure of the XML tree and nodes. And each version can consolidate, can amend, can correct, and change other law. So this is especially in our case, we have from the I take from Eurlex, there is this line. So our example was modified in June 2019, and the article affected is 161 paragraph 10 that is in addition, so inserted in this case. So using this information coming from ALI, we can detect which articles or fragment of paragraph are modified. So this is very important for updating over time, because one of the main problems of this system in general is to have an architecture maintainable over time and that can support the pressure of the modification in easy way. So in this case, we can detect which article are modifying, and we can immediately pass this article to the artificial intelligence for detecting in case some new request, and return the serialization in RDF. So we use many of ALI information. So we have, thanks to ALI, many metadata that you can reuse: the title, the first date of entry in force, the date of applicability, the version, but also all the events of modifications that you can see easily in a human readable way inside of Airlex. But all these information are codified inside of the metadata. So we reuse as much as possible this knowledge for detecting the modification, where, when these modification happen, and if can affect a request. And this is the ontology that we have modeled. So this is a temporal parameter. This is a action report. We have a topic, and then we have agents, not agent only, but agent rule, because the definition of the agents change over time. It's so true that now we are using the concept of the Agent Commission European Parliament defined in the Lisbon Treaty. So we use the definition of today, but obviously the name and the nomenclature can change over time. So also the agent role. So the agent is the European Commission, playing in this case the Commission the role of addressee, adressaire, and also to the bearer. And in this case, the European Parliament and Council are now in this sentence playing the role of addressee, and this agent role in the power, in the concept, is linked to a precise temporal period. So obviously now we are under the umbrella of Lisbon Treaty, but in the future we don't know. In the past, obviously we can find other nomenclature, and we need to take in consideration. As I said before, we have also another very relevant element of the request. If a human being wanted to understand better which kind of report is necessary, we need to navigate to the link. But which link, in which time? Because remember that this sentence was introduced not in 2013, but in 2019. And so the link should be navigate in point in time. So I need to navigate the consolidated version of these to extract this information and to offer to the human being and to offer to the decision maker. So the link is not enough. I need to link exactly the version point in time that is necessary for taking decisions. So this is a fragment of our ontologies that reflect what I have explained before. So the request is a portion of the text involved in our analysis. The request is a part of a document larger, and in this case we have the ALI link. So this request is a fragment of text of a larger document of ALI, but we have also some citation. So this request includes also a link to another portion. So we need to say that there is a link, a citation, And we need also to say that this request has a different URI link, unique identifier that is more detailed, because we need to say that this is a chapter 3 article 191 and point 10. And in this case, I have the single fragment, and I can enter in deep also of the little sentence. And also, if I have some manual annotation, I can add this text extracted directly by the text, but in case I can also add other annotation, not simply the text, but all other annotations that the human being wanted to add. The request produce actions, plural, in the sense that it is possible to have repetitive actions. Actually, we have also the possibility to model the frequency. It's not our case because we have only one deadline, the end of this year, December 2023. But in other requests, we can notice a frequency every 3 years, every 6 months, and so far. And we want also annotate the topics. What is the topic of this request? In this case, it's liquidity. The frequency in our fragment of the case is null, and the action is make a report. The frequency is composed by 2 elements, the unit of the frequency, so year, month, day. Days are quite rare, but the month and years we find, and the value, 5 years, 3 months, and so far. But again, these are our fragment, another example, and we go ahead with these. In this case, you can find the frequency, and in this case, we have information to put inside of a frequency. So here is the unit, and 5 is the value. On the base of this frequency, I can calculate automatically the multiple actions and record inside of a system automatically. This is again the request, and you can see the request according to this example, that is a report addressed to the European Parliament and Council every 5 years, starting from January 2018. And the topic is about the financial instrument and contract. So the request produce many actions. So for tracking the action, I have as a next. So each action are connected in series with the previous one. So I have the first action, the second action, and so far. But I can also relate each other actions because are not in the sequence, but are connected semantically by some situation, like suspension or like override or some modification. So I have 2 kinds of relation, next in the sequence or related aspecting to some other semantic relation. And I can make an annotation. And the status. The status is supposed to have a closed list that for now is, we produce a tentative list of values, completed, deleted, override, suspended, and so on, pending, but is not written in the stone. We can update. The action involve an agent, but the agent, as I said, is not fixed in for all the period of the time, but the agent plays some rules according to the moment and the situation. So the action is related to the agent rule, is connected with action result. Each action is one atomic action. So in this case is 2023 report, and the period of time of this report is 2013 and 28. The second one is, and the agent role is European Commission and Parliament and Council. Also, the agent is split in more detail. A agent role, in this case, I reported you that is obviously an agency now, but started and was created in 2011 as a transformation on another institution, Committee of European Security Regulation, that was created in 2001. So it is important to fix the agent in time, because they exist from some period of time and for a period of time. So the agent role, this is a very well-known pattern in ontology, used in many ontologies. Agent role is composed by the with the role. So this agent with the role and for the agent in a due time. The agent is we reused the agent including the LI. The agent in LI ontology are divided in a physical person and a legal person, so organizations in general. And we can also annotate in general agents that also not be very clearly defined, but we can classify some fragment of the text as an agent, person, organization. So in this case, as I said before, we have also a complication, because some information concerning the time are not in the same sentence, but are in another sentence. So we need to identify inside of the paragraph all the components. This is a role of ontology. So my colleague Ashwin of University of Bologna should understand all the components and detect the portion of the anatomy and compose this puzzle. And this is a presentation of all the ontology nowadays, that you can see also some specific list. So as I said before, the status is a closed list for now. So the intention is not to have an open vocabulary, but to close the vocabulary. We can improve, obviously. We have also the function of the period of time, that could be the validity of the action or the deadline of the action. And the role for now are very general, but we can understand when the Commission is the proposer or the implementer of an action, or is a receiver of an action, and we can make a query. Now I would like to present another case. This is a case of Article 26 of this regulation of 2013, that is quite complex in the wording, because in the Article 26 we have a long list of points that explain the content. So there are many contents, very technical, concerning European venture capital funds, with many very detailed in the content of the topic. But the paragraph 2 includes some important information. So the review expected by the Commission shall provide, should provide, depends in the temporal schedule different deadlines according to the points. So the points from A to G and to E to J is supposed to be delivered in this first time, and the point H in another time. It's not infrequent, these is very common, but the paragraph 3 says that the paragraph 1 is a connection between the 1 and 2, so putting connection the two paragraphs and the request and the obligation to produce the report. What happened? So modeling this is not easy. and we need to detect all the portion and all the connections. So we needed to take all the URI of the points and to connect to this deadline, and equally the age. But the more complicated, this is the first request that I try to present you in an easy way, very similar to Turtle, but it's not Turtle, just because I wanted to not be too much verbose. But the request is composed by the link, first of all, to the Gazette, that is obviously the legal act. And we use also the fragment of the point, in particular the point A and the point J, that is our part. And we have a relation with the request 2, because there is another request. So we have the request 1 and the request 2. And in this case, we have also the text that I don't report, but is a fragment of the text. We have a topic, venture capital funds. We have a production of an action. The action is to produce a report in a due time. And we have a commission that is implementer of this report, the parliament that is addressee, and the ESMA is a consultant, because you can see that there is also in the third paragraph also the mention of ESMA that is after the consulting. So there is also another step to do, not only to report and to present, but also to ask a consulting to ESMA. ISMA, and ISMA is playing a role of consultant. So these kind of triples inside of the database in the future, or triple store, can very valuable for many queries. Give me all the actions that are suspended in the last year during the COVID, but need the consultant check of ISMA or similar in the future. But the second request is only involved the point H. So similarly, first of all, we have a valid link to the Gazette, that is the authentic source, but we have also the portion inside of the particularly part of the document. Equally, we have all the period and the same annotation. But in the meantime, happen a modifications during the time. So we assist in 22 a modification, and we can see that the first was maintained. The second was maintained, and the first deadline was moved to the March 2022. So, and this is important because this modification, the date of the modification is 2018, but the new deadline is after 4 years. So how we can track this kind of modification and link, and so we add a new serialization. In this case, we have, you can see and we can notice the link to the consolidated text offered by the Gazette. We have the URI Nacomantoso, including the new version data of the document. And we also add a references here, a relation that say that this request changed the previous one. So I created a connection between the request number 1 here and the request number 3. So now the human being can navigate the request and can understand that previously there was a deadline, and now there is a new deadline, and can understand all the history of this request and can manage better the information. So this is what we have. So we have the original text, then we have another modification, and this is a modification that is involved with our request in during the 2018, and This is a database that we are now building using our ontology. So we model the first request and the second request connected. So the point A, B, C, and G, J, and this is H. And when the new modification affect the text, we can create a new request, but connecting with the previous one. So we can have already all the chain of the versioning, but also the versioning of the request, and also to manage the link in appropriate way. So in this way, we can add a more sophisticated query like this to answer to these questions. When was modified the action 1 with the result of a report or standard related to a such article, or can you give me all the action that be modified in the period of time and produce a result in the future? Or give me all the actions that see some actor, agent in the role of implementer. Or simply give me the action connected to another action, just for understanding better the situation. So these expand a lot the knowledge of the legal experts, maintain under track the modification, under track the request, and avoid the overlapping. For the future, we want to integrate also, after a first experiment, also LigaRuleML. LigaRuleML is another standard that can model obligation in terms of prescriptive rules of law. And so the main idea is to, if the work is growing up, it's nice also to add this level for make legal reasoning. So not limited to the connection or the modification, but talking about also the consistency. If one request is consistent with another request in terms of logic. For now, we are stopping on the semantic and the connection of the semantic, but in the future, we can also add another level for understanding the logic of the request. And if there are some requesting conflicting or caching, and the human being and the expert or the decision maker can decide. I'm stop here, and I'm very happy to listen your question and to answer your question.
Thank you very much, Monica. I really appreciate the effort you made for providing examples that make it, I hope, more clear for the people who are not really semantic experts. So now let us check the chat. We have first questions. How does the process of converting legal text from OG to RDF triples look like? So this is not the part really that we are addressing today, but maybe we can give so we can explain a bit. And you have a slide, I think, on that, where you removed it from here. No, we have a slide, but it's not in this presentation. So we can give do you want to explain how we do, or do you prefer me to do it? I don't know.
No, please.
Okay, so in fact, first we have a set of manual entries of reporting obligations provided by the databases at EC level. And what was done by the colleague Ashwin Itu from University of Liège, is that he chose to use unsupervised algorithm to search for reporting. Oh, sorry, I'm mixing. Sorry, no. I'm not giving. So okay, so he chose to use unsupervised algorithm to identify reporting obligations, that based on some similar words using the cosine function. And on this basis, he tested that first his reporting obligations are correct, and then with some noise to tell you. From now, we are still fixing a bit of noise. And then on this basis, he is searching first with the named entity recognition. He is searching for the who, the agents, and then he is searching which type of action by the shell. And we found also that sometimes it's more than shell that should be found. And then he uses dependency parsing to analyze further. But to tell you, it does not go until now. We are still in this process. So because our project is to have first the conceptual model, and then that he uses to be used then by AI. So the AI part is not yet fully there. It will last until the beginning of next year. Voilà. But thank you for your question. And on my side, I have some detailed questions on the model itself, on the conceptual model. So I was wondering, when I'm issuing a request, so it's a piece of text that is about a reporting obligation, whether I should consider that there is an action. So if I have by the 1st of January 2018, it means that I have an action that is planned. So I was thinking, do I need a planned action to encompass for knowing the date by which my deadline for the first time I have to, for this time that has been set. So if I take the example you gave, what was that? There was 5 years after the 1st of January 2018. So I have the 1st of January 2018, and
yes,
this time, or you have cases with with deadlines.
yes.
How can I encompass for deadlines if I don't have the planned status for action? So it's I don't know if my question is clear.
No, but I have a plan because the action are inside included. So I can modulate the creation of the action. I don't know, every night I can check this and can create. So each action is a new triple of the action. So you have a new triples connected in the action, and when you create a new action, you add multiple action connected to the same request. So you can say create automatically for three years. And after the system, this is the applicative part and not of the ontology, but you can create a system that every night or every week or as you like, frequently can check this status and create a new agent, a new action, sorry. And the main idea is to produce also alert to the system, to the human being. So every morning the people can open a system and to have an alert how many action should taking care. And this is for monitoring.
So you consider that what is planned would be activated, for instance, is activated status. I'm trying to find which status would be. Okay, I see in the chat that Raoul wants to intervene, so please, Raoul.
Hello, thank you very much. And a caveat before I take the floor, be aware that I only could join in the middle of the presentation for other priorities, so I apologize. I have a comment and a question. My comment is, I see just describing what you are presenting as a regulatory reporting metadata vocabulary, and it's a comment, it's not a question. And this for me will be more clear if you differentiate between metadata and vocabulary. So I could understand that we are seeing a regulatory reporting vocabulary, period. And then there is metadata, which is regulatory, reporting metadata. This is my comment. In relation to my question, I would be interested in, again, I apologize if you had a slide at the beginning. What are the specifications and or standards that you consider that are of application or that you have considered? What is in relation to support this in itself, this regulatory reporting vocabulary is a spec in itself, of course. But my question is there any other specs? You also have commented the ML, no, the rule ML, no, the legal rule ML. So, but in addition to that, is any other thing I will be really interested in understanding? I see Ellie also, but okay, please comment. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comment. Yes, so the name of vocabulary was started with this, but this is an ontology, so it's more rather than a vocabulary, and we reuse many other ontologies like ALI. We are using ALI, we are using Accomantoso, that is a sort of ontology as well, based on FRBR, and we reuse also another standard already used by the European Commission that is used for monitoring events, that is CCCV, that is an ontology for monitoring the events in the procurement, basically. So these are the status of reusing of standards, and Accomantoso is a OASIS standards, and Legal ML is a OASIS standard.
Okay, does it answer your question? So CCCV stands for core criteria.
No. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. I see in the chat other questions from Bert. So are the Accomantoso snippets identified with the AKN identifier differentiable over by seller? And we have Mark in the chat, so maybe Mark, you could answer whether it's already differentiable or whether there are plans.
Yes, I can answer now. We have many identifiers. SELAS is one of the most important also for the legacy system in the past. So also as we use a SELAR, this is a pillar because it's very stable, and inside of this nomenclature we have recently, let me say, ALI and also Accomantoso. So our intention is to maintain all these information aligned as a alias, and to have foster benefits for each in different periods of the time.
And Mark, please complement.
Yeah, maybe to build a bit on that. So thanks for the opportunity to say a couple of words on that. So indeed, if not the AKN identifiers per se, but the LE identifiers, like Monica has said, are dereferenceable. Also on URLex and behind it in the seller, of course. Also by now at article level, so you can actually have a direct access, at least for newer legislation, down to the article level directly. So this is being done, and you can, like Monica has explained, always use ELI in the seller as one of the stable identifiers to address an act as a whole.
Thank you. And then there is another question from Bert. Is the following temporal challenge already considered? The reporting starts 16 months after the publication of the legislation. So there are some of these clauses where the action should start is dependent on the adoption of the legislation and the date of adoption, let's say.
Yes, right. There are many events depending to not well-defined other actions. And the most important part is to identify these, in any case, as a temporal parts, and also to return in case with to the human being in order to resolve this incompleteness of the information. So for now, the idea is not to investigate all the legislation, all the events of the legislation, but to return these incompleteness to the human being in order to complete, and is a step forward important, because now the people need to read everything, and in this case we can cut intensively the portion of the text that needs a human intervention for resolving that. But there are more sophisticated categories, like not applicable for Malta, but applicable for Cyprus, but starting from a different period. And the report exclude these member state, but include after 2 years another. So this kind of a complicated situation could be managed with the legal RLML. For this reason, we need in the future legal RLML, because it is exactly what legal RLML can manage with the rules and logic and the exception. So the exceptions, like produce a report for all the member states, but not for these member states, and participate for another 2 years is an exception. And for this, for managing this kind of exception, we need a more sophisticated instrument based on rules, and in particular the feasible logic, because the description logic of ontology is not enough, and we need rules for do so.
Okay, so I have another question that is about the time, the temporal. So how is it possible, but I think we answered that question, Jürgen. So is it possible to include time dimensions within processes, years submit within 1 year, 45 days of consultation, 60 weeks after the end of consultation? So it is about this link between a period of time and action, that it can be a date or it could be a period, and it's precisely it gives this this flexibility.
Yes, period of time as defined originally in the CCEV ontology could be a point in time, a data, or an interval, or there is also duration. So we can also add a duration, so like 16 months from this data, and not to calculate the interval, to maintain 16. But again, the main idea was to provide a simple ontology, not too much sophisticated, because otherwise we need to annotate all the legislation, because all the events are connected each other, like publication, the entry in force, the participation of entry in force, suspension, and so far. So in this moment, we think it is enough. We try with this. And probably in the future could be extended with more sophisticated temporal ontology. But we need also to have a balancing between the cost to maintain this ontology and the benefits. So for now, we are interested to create a first level of ontology for measuring the benefits, and in the future to extend in case with the sophisticated other elements that need probably the human intervention.
Thank you. So then I would have one comment and then one question. So first, the request is linked with the frequency, and but it's not a mandatory linking, and we have learned by some work done in the Commission that it can be that there are reporting requests that have no periodicity, so that are only once. And it's also one example that you showed, by the way, Monica. So that's just one comment to show that this still fits with in the picture that we are trying to accommodate now. And then I have another question, which is about if a request is towards a group of so something that is undefined, like businesses. My question is that agent, I would address, so I, as a commission, create a request for reporting to businesses, and with the role of addressee. But these businesses, here I see that they can only be persons or organizations. And I try to go to see what a ELI organization is, whether it can be something that is undefined, but I'm not, I did not feel confident by reading the definition that I found in ELI. So could you further explain how I would manage a request that is addressed to businesses?
So the definition of organization can be extended in the ontology. So you know that the definition starts from reusing something, but we can also reducing or extending. So we can restrict or extend this definition. So in this case of businesses, we can assume that is an entity. So agent exists and is an entity. Could be also a algorithm in case or a database in the future, or robots so we can in case extend with the definition of general entity, adding to the ELI agent this extension. I don't see any problem in this. Or redefining. So there are many instruments in the ontology to do so, so to extend or to redefine. So in this particular situation, ELI agent include also a new entity, or we can extend with a new entity in general. But this is not a problem. The problem of the frequency, yes, the frequency could be null, like the case that I presented, but I have, if the frequency is null, I have only one action. And if I have only one action, I have the connection, okay. Yes, stop. If I have thank you, Alessio. If I have a request that the frequency is null, this element is not have values, and the request create one and only action. You go the next, next, and you can create one action with is a precise period of time. So this is a line of a query. So if there are frequency, the frequency needs is an information, let me say, for the machine in principle for creating automatically many action, but the query is made in any time to the action and the period of time.
But with this said, I think that there is a nice case that is provided by Franck Laurent. He has a question: does this mean that a reporting requirement without a time dimension would not be covered? Example, a report to be produced only when the Commission requests so. So indeed, the event-driven, so here we are time-bound, and we don't, it doesn't mean, so I let you answer,
Okay, again, this report to be produced only when the Commission requests so is an exception. They need rules. If the Commission request, then report. And this is a matter of legal rule because it's a rule. And it's not a matter of only time, but is a matter of a sequence of rules. The purpose now is not to enter inside of the rules, but to maintain the level of the general reporting. In this case, we can say the report is produced and the time is undefined. So we can say, or incomplete. And in this case, we can put something incompleteness that should be integrated by the human when he knows the event or the action produced.
Does it answer your question, Frank? So we can support
Perhaps.
it?
No, and I can add also that text is always available. Now the text is not available. There is only a summary made by the human being and not in the standard way and missing a lot of information. In this case, using the Accomantoso link and the ALI link, in any moment we can navigate exactly the official text. So the text that you reported is not missed or is included inside of annotation. Action as annotation, and this fragment is inside of annotation.
Monica, one other question from my side. So for now, what you have provided here can be really is more than for regulatory reporting. It could be for whatever type of obligation or request. But in the action result, if we want to think of reporting obligations, it means that there are some data behind that, and ideally, ideally it would be nice that we can qualify this data with things like DCAT-AP or to be able, or you don't nod, you are not in agreement. So how do you see this action result to make it easily discoverable in the data world?
No, we have, you can see the action result is linked with the ALI expression, and the ALI expression is a general, not legal, and you can link the open data link, and the open data link has the DCAT metadata. So if the portal of European Commission Open Data, that I know very well because I use it and I teach open data course, the main idea is exactly this. If you have some list, kind of list is included here, but if you have a data set, as a result, you have in any case the ALI link that is inside of a portal, and the link show and expose also DCAT metadata, and you can reach them through this one.
Thank you. You know what? I had overlooked this beautiful arrow that links action results with the LI expression. So thank you for making making me see it. And I guess that for people for whom it's the first time that they see this model, that that it's not so easy as well. So as I could see it already once, so I'm thank you, and I could understand that you have still to digest this information. I don't see any more questions in the chat, so we have one. So from Mark, do you want to take the floor, Mark, or yeah?
Yeah, I can. It's really the question of how this federates. So when the European legislation typically imposes obligations on member states that in turn, via implementing measures, translate into reporting obligations to, let's say, groups of businesses in certain domains. So where the obligation does not technically result from European legislation, but indirectly from implementing measures at national, or for that matter, regional level. So how do you see this type of cascade?
Yes, so thank you so much. The idea is to have this kind of results, architecture ready also to be customized for the local domestic law. For now not, but in the future I don't see any problem to customize this model also for member states and to connect the obligations. For now, obviously, the attention is on internal obligation where the main actors are inside of the institution, and the Commission especially, in order to produce the report in time, or the schedule, or the plan, or the action result in general. But in principle, this question emerged in the discussion with the team in order to create an architecture easy to customize and purporting to a national level, and so to connect the implementing report in the national member state to the European level and vice versa, because are connected.
Yes, and
Thank you.
I think it's an important point, and that that it should be so. Here we don't have any information about the people that are really where they belong to, or most of them. We don't have this information. But I think, I don't know, Mark and Monica, if you think that it would be nice also to have, for instance, the ELI representatives discuss this model, or to give them access to this, to make their change requests if they have, to have this community being addressed, to make sure that the national levels would be covered.
I think definitely if we want this to move forward and become something more also formally linked. So first of all, of course, I'm very happy to see that the work strongly builds on ELI. This won't come as a surprise that I very much welcome that. But I think if we want to go forward, definitely colleagues in the ELI community and the ELI task force would have to be made first and foremost aware even of these activities. And secondly, they will likely have comments, questions, remarks, perhaps also different points of view.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so precisely. So I see, in fact, in the same direction, I would say, is it possible to submit a request for the model or actively participate to the design as a community? And so for now, it's what I was explaining in the introduction. We have seen this work as a catalyzer to really to start creating well, this type of interest. And we need to, I think it would be nice that Monica and Mark, we meet in a small setting to discuss how to move this forward as well, to have a community being behind it. So if you agree, we would have a follow-up meeting, and then we would inform well, as part of also the audience here, of the outcome of this meeting. Would you agree on this? Okay, so great. We will have it not next week, but maybe the week after, so that we, all of you, maybe have more time to get prepared. Voila. And then at that point, it will be much easier. So now in our side, we don't have a bandwidth to have a community, to manage a community behind this. So we need to find ways. That's what I wanted to also to stress, that voila. Okay, so no more questions. it seems. So I thank you very much. It's a bit ahead of time, but I don't think anyone will be unhappy of closing a bit earlier. So what we will do, if it's not done yet, we will share this presentation with all the people in the chat, that attended the meeting or registered even. We count on you to come with your comments or questions if you have. So it's still, it can be, we know it can be a challenge for non-semantic experts to understand these things. And for the ones that are, specifically for the ones that are more in the policy field, it would be perfectly understandable that you do not understand. And then, but we think it's really worth the effort that there are some of you who can push their ideas or the practicalities of designing legislation, and to like Frank was mentioning. So we really would welcome any of your questions and comments. And for this, you can share these in the, I will put it, or Alessio, if you can share the our functional mailbox so that the people can, voila, it's here. So please do not hesitate to come back to us on that. And we will then also inform you of the outcome of, so the future of this vocabulary by end of the month, I would say. So again, thank you very much. And except if you have any last, I see a comment from Paul Smith, very powerful. We should also look at the tools side, and so that we can use this good work to formulate queries. Indeed, so Paul, we are in the process of preparing an extension to this work where there would be also the queries available to the people. But behind queries, there must be data. So there is also this effort to do, precisely to extract all from the EU acquis. So we are in that process. And I hope at one point we can announce to everybody that it's available for their use. Thank you very much also, and have a nice end of the day. And Monica, big thanks to you with this effort. It was really appreciated also to make it easily or more easily understandable by everybody.
It is a pleasure.
So I can say, I think we can close now. Bye-bye, everybody.